Welcome to today's deep dive. You know, we usually draw this really hard line between the physical world.
Right, like gravity and concrete and all that.
Exactly, gravity, biological decay, and then on the other side, the spiritual world, so consciousness, the afterlife. But today, we are pulling from this wild stack of sources. I mean, peer-reviewed medical journals, quantum physics papers, forensic analysis of the Shroud of Turin.
It is a lot, yeah. And our mission here is to explore this concept called the transphysical. It basically suggests that matter and spirit aren't actually opposites at all, but they sit on a unified continuum.
Right, so actively destroying that centuries-old wall between physics and theology.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're listening to this and thinking, well, this sounds like science fiction, just stick with us. The empirical data we are unpacking today is genuinely startling.
It really is. But before we get to the physics of, say, a literal resurrection, we have to ask if consciousness can even operate outside our biological hardware.
Right, and we have some really compelling medical data on this, looking at clinical, peer-reviewed near-death experiences. There is this one famous case documented by researcher Kimberly Clark.
Oh, yeah, the tennis shoe one.
Yes. It involved a resuscitated patient whose heart stopped. I mean, she was clinically dead, yet she reported floating completely outside her physical body, passing through the hospital walls, and she spotted this very specific tennis shoe sitting on an exterior third-floor ledge.
Which is just crazy.
Right, and staff actually went out to check, and they found the shoe exactly where she described it.
See, that reminds me of, like cloud computing. If our physical brain is the laptop, consciousness is the data in the cloud. So when the laptop battery dies, the data isn't gone, it is just off device.
That is a really great analogy.
But here is where my brain gets stuck. You know, it is one thing for the software to exist in the cloud. But how does that ethereal software suddenly come back and permanently rewrite physical hardware?
Yeah.
Like, how does a spirit actually alter dense matter?
Well, to answer how the immaterial affects the material, the forensic data points us to what might be the ultimate empirical artifact, and that is the Shroud of Turin.
Right.
The sources describe an entity demonstrating a dual-mode existence. So think of a body that can eat and metabolize actual food, so it is fully grounded in our physical reality.
We can also bypass physical barriers.
Exactly. Instead of getting bogged down in complex quantum concepts like the Pauli exclusion principle, just imagine the atoms of a body temporarily slipping right past the atoms of a solid stone wall without colliding.
Okay, but to leave that microscopic image on the shroud, the research says it took a 34 terawatt burst of vacuum ultraviolet radiation. I mean, wait, 34 terawatt.
It is a massive number.
If a bomb with that much energy went off, wouldn't it have vaporized the entire tomb? Not just left a neat superficial picture on some linen.
Oh, it absolutely would have vaporized everything if it lasted any longer than it did. But the burst happened in less than 50 nanoseconds.
Wow, so incredibly fast.
Right. It was extremely intense, but just fast enough to color the very top 200 nanometers of the cloth without thermal heating just turning the whole thing into ash.
Okay, I have to stop you there, though.
Yeah.
Doesn't carbon dating prove this cloth is a medieval fake anyway? I mean, I remember reading about a famous test from the 1980s.
Yeah, so the 1988 test definitely happened, but the physics papers we were looking at highlight this thing called a neutron activation paradox.
A neutron activation paradox, what is that?
So that massive radiation burst we just talked about releases a flood of thermal neutrons. When those bombarded the linen, they interacted with trace nitrogen inside the fabric to literally synthesize brand new carbon-14 atoms.
Oh, I see. So the radiation artificially injected new carbon into the cloth, making it look artificially young.
Precisely. And when scientists recently used wide-angle X-ray scattering, which entirely skips the carbon and just measures how much the cellulose molecules have naturally degraded over time, it proved the cloth is structurally 2,000 years old.
Okay, so we have a 2,000-year-old cloth and a massive instantaneous burst of light. How does that actually create a highly detailed 3D image?
Well, the forensic analysis introduces a concept called mechanical transparency. At the precise fraction of a second that the image formed, the body's energy state shifted so radically that it stopped presenting a solid physical barrier.
Hold on, so it just ceased to be solid.
Yeah, think back to the atoms slipping past each other. The linen burial cloth simply collapsed due to gravity, falling literally through the space where the solid body had just been.
Falling through the radiation.
Exactly, all while that intense radiation was being emitted.
Meaning the light was coming from all points inside the body's volume? I mean, that would act almost exactly like an X-ray.
That is exactly what forensic dental surgeon Dr. John Sotosanti found. Analyzing the facial region of the shroud, he discovered the lower teeth are actually visible beneath the closed lips of the image.
Wait, really? The teeth are visible?
Yes. The light originated from the core of the body, casting an internal shadow of the denser skeletal structure onto the cloth as it fell. I mean, you simply cannot get that from a medieval painting.
You really can't. And if you are listening to this, it really forces you to rethink the entire physical world. Matter isn't just stuff that eventually decays.
Right, it is so much more than that.
The data suggests it holds the potential to be fully integrated with the spirit into this incorruptible, hyper-physical state. It leaves us looking at ancient texts alongside modern quantum physics and finding very strange overlaps.
Oh, absolutely.
Like the ancient text of Ecclesiastes. It talks about a silver cord connecting the spirit to the physical body. We have always treated that as beautiful poetry.
But looking at this forensic data, you really have to wonder.
Exactly. What if it is literal? What if these ancient spiritual metaphors were actually primitive descriptions of quantum physics? Imagine that metaphysical tether snapping back into place, and that sudden reunion of spirit and matter is exactly what sparks the blinding light of resurrection.